Hello and welcome back to Salmon's Pizzeria. The league season may be over, but that doesn't mean we're done because it is playoff season, baby, and one of us is involved in them, and that is Kieran Ashton. How are you, Kieran?
Absolutely fantastic, fantastic, Callum. Delighted after our Friday night's result. Can't get any better than that. Our captain, our striker, getting his 100th goal, and getting his 100th goal via 88th minute winner, scoring a brace, clean sheet, can't beat it. Bring on the levy.
I will be. I'm sure you very much enjoyed your playoff endeavours. I'm definitely not bitter and jealous and all those sort of things.
At
But
least you're
yes,
saving. At least you're saving money, Callum. We're just saying off air, like already starting to feel a bit skint already. You know what I mean? It's the games are coming thick and fast. The days out are coming thick and fast, and before
I've
you know
spent
it,
all mine on. I've spent all mine on Slovak and Hungarian beer. I'm sorry.
swings and roundabouts.
Aye. But yes, it is championship playoff season, and that means it was the first round for the promotion playoffs. It was the quarterfinals for promotion to the Premiership, and that saw Partick Thistle take on Ayr United. Ayr have been faltering since February, but we felt with when I was with Josh um, last week, we felt Ayr have been decent at home still, so we thought, oh, it might be a case of Thistle get the win at Firhill, but then Somerset Park, it all changed, that sort of thing. And, well, it definitely did all change at Somerset Park, but we got the idea of what happened at Firhill a bit wrong. Um, Thistle, meanwhile, they managed to hold on to fourth place on the final day, thanks to beating Livingston, and Ayr have been third forever, it feels like. So, Kieran, you were very much at the game. How much of this do you remember?
Far too much. I was unfortunately sober to far too sober. We had a couple before the game, but finished work and then headed straight to the game. You know what I mean? Lost my AirPod case on the train to the game, so it couldn't get any worse. So it could the day couldn't got to an even worse start than that. You know what I mean? But I heading into it. I did fancies. But I've said it to death on here. But with Air faltering and over the two legs, I did fancies really. But I felt we had to have a massive performance at Firhill on the Tuesday, and I mean it's a bit disappointing to say the least with the result. I thought the first half was a bit cagey. There was a few chances for each team. Graham probably comes closest in the first half with a header. It was good save. The Ayr keeper goes down well, but I think Graham's ultimately has got to do a lot better than that. Ayr had chances too as well, of course, and one
There
which
was
was
also there was also the Kyle Turner
mhm.
incident, penalty incident. What were
Yeah,
your
the Robbie Crawford, yeah, we'll go into that in a bit. But I felt Ayr had chances as well to take the lead in the game, and there was one in particular in the first half that was gathered well by Mitchell, the Ayr boy, just kind of hits it directly at Mitchell, to be honest, and it's fairly easy for Mitchell to catch. And then, obviously, as you alluded to there, Thistle's penalty shout. In the first half, we had two penalty shouts. I felt there was one in the second half late on as well, and I mean, I think it was soft, but at the time I was going off my nut. When I seen the one in the second half, but the first one, I don't know how he's not giving that, to be honest. I don't know your thoughts on the penalty shout itself, Callum, but I thought it was a stone wall, really, to be honest.
yeah? It's like watching. It's like I'd seen the clip on Twitter, and it's like I looked at it. I thought that's not being given. I was baffled by the fact that it wasn't given because I've seen a lot softer fouls be given as penalties, especially
Mm-hmm.
with uh, the second penalty that Reef got against Queens Park. That one was less of a penalty than whatever
Mm-hmm.
happened there with Turner and the Air player.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I
I
was,
was surprised by that.
I think I lost my voice more shouting at the referee than singing or chatting or
I,
whatever. Like I
I'd be
was,
the exact same.
uh, it was shocking. I felt the ref as whole as well. He was far too card happy for both teams, not just for us. I mean, there was a few fouls that he was giving to us that weren't. He wasn't signing for Ayr, but regardless, I think overall for both teams, it was shocking. And again, it's another week we're coming on here complaining about the standard of refs and how incompetent they are.
It's not a
I,
championship podcast without us slating referees at any point.
I mean, yeah, exactly.
See, you were saying about yellow cards being given everywhere. Did Stuart Bannigan get one?
Oh, I don't think so. I'm not entirely sure. But I think he gave I think it was 7 yellow cards or something like that. Five or 6 yellow cards that game, and I mean I think it just spoiled because I think games between us and there they're always quite close, but they're always good games to watch, and he spoiled what could have been a fantastic game, and you know their goal then comes the early second half, and it's a bit of a hammer blow, to be honest, but we don't deal with the cross well, and O'Reilly's having to compensate. But he's not a left back, but he's playing left back because we've getting our left backs are done. You know what I mean? And he's having to overcompensate with that, and he just doesn't get close enough to him. And it's it's a fairly routine goal for Jamie Murphy, the header, and Mitchell's got no chance to even save it. You know what I mean? It comes too fast, and it doesn't get the defence have got to be dealing with that better more than Mitchell. To be honest, I'm not blaming Mitchell, but I think the defence certainly have got to do it, and it's from then on. We've got a couple of chances here. I've got a chance as well to make it 2-0, and it's kind of a bit backs to the wall, kind of defending, but Graham had a chance up the other end, and his header's just a whisker wide away for Grin. Get into the back of the net, and the game finishes 1-0, and I mean, it's not ideal, but you're still
It's one goal. It's one
there's
goal.
only one goal in it. You know what I mean? It's not ideal going down to Somerset. It's traditionally a very tricky ground to go to, and regardless of how well we've done there in the past, it's always been a tough place to go down to. I think it's for any team really. It's always a tough venue to go to, and going down there where, albeit there's a goal in it, but still, we've lost the first leg. We've lost the first leg at home. You kind of go into the second leg fearing the worst, and then you find out that O'Reilly's out due to a concussion precaution, and he's missing the second leg. You're starting to feel the worst really, and you're starting to think more about the day out than the football itself on Friday. But I mean, if we're saying to ourselves, look, it's only only one goal in it. Get the early goal in the second leg, see what happens, and then second leg comes obviously as I say, Dan O'Reilly was missing. Are basically our only player that can play left back.
Yeah, he's a very good defender in general. He's probably one
Yeah,
of the best
a fantastic defender. Obviously, and Reed's away. He's back. He's back with County because he's needing surgery in his leg. He's injured, so I mean, we don't have any natural left backs. You hear the player who is playing left back is now out, so we start a 17-year-old at left wing back in the name of
He's
Jamie
not
Goh,
signed like
and
a professional contract just before the
yeah,
playoffs.
just before the playoffs, and aye, he's kind of chucked into the deep end, so to speak, and I think here we're starting a 17-year-old at left wing back. You fear the worst, and but I mean, it's good that we're giving these young players these chances, and as we'll get on, we reap the rewards of that, and obviously the match kicks off, and they have a chance with a corner early doors, but the defence deals it well to clear it, and then we go up the other end, get a corner after it, and that's when our young star, 17-year-old Jamie Lowe puts the corner in right for Graham's head, and it's a fantastic goal and a fantastic moment for the 17-year-old boy, and
Yeah,
it's
it was a perfect cross. It was a perfect corner.
fantastic. Fantastic. And the way Graham's running, Ray Graham's running, I think he's in the middle of the box and runs right into he turns around and does a wee kind of dummy running right into the back post, and it's a fantastic cross for the young boy, and I'll get on him a bit later on and a bit more in depth, but um, I would get the early goal that we wanted, and we tie the game going up. We tie the game in aggregate, and then Stanway's unlucky not to put us 2-0 up. As you see, he said, I'll go wide for the post from a Robbie Crawford cross, and again, I think as the game goes on, both teams have chances. Ayr United kind of we weather a bit of a storm for Ayr United, but again, we have our chances as well, and but there's no any real clear cut chances really. I think both teams are kind of scared to concede, and there's headers going over the post or shots going wide of the post and headers going over the bar and all that kind of stuff. And then, as I said, we weathered the United storm fairly well, and that's where we get our just rewards. In the 88th minute, Brian Graham, it's 3 touches and it's in the back of the net. Free kick
It
comes
was a
in and
very well worked goal from him.
fantastic, like from the training ground, stuff. I cross comes in from, I think it's either Turner or Macbeth. I'm not entirely sure who hits the free kick. Graham knocks it down for Jakubiak. Jakubiak touches it, and there's a kind of argument about whether Graham stole the touch for Jakubiak, or if it was a set up. I think Graham probably does, but he says in his post match interviews that, look, I've always backed myself regardless if there's a shot, and I think
To
there's
be
a
fair, I
goal. I'm
backed
going to
Brian
take it.
Graham over Kubiak, so
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't diss Jakubiak. I love that boy. I love that guy. Give him the keys to the city. But and then what a way to score your 100th goal in front of the way end in the 88th minute to send your team into the semi-finals of the the semi-finals of the Premiership playoffs. Sends you away end into absolute raptures, and I'm up the back, and I end up down the front of the away end going absolutely fucking nuts. I'm hugging everybody, and it was absolutely incredible scenes, and I fantastic way to get your 100th goal if you don't say yourself. And if you told me Graham would score his 100th goal when he got his first in a god awful 2-1 loss away to Arbroath in January 2020, I would have laughed in your face.
because that Thistle side was awful.
Tam Weir as captain and Scott Fox blowing in these goal kicks over the fucking stadium like 2 times that season. No, sorry, 2 times in that game, 3 times in the game before I realised maybe I shouldn't be doing that. But I that for what the club has been through for Graham's first season, that he's only 3 months in the job, and he's been 2 months in the job, and COVID happens, and he's docked. He's taking a pay cut to stay and all that kind of stuff, and aye, that it's been a roller coaster five seasons that we've had Graham, but what a 5 years it's been, and I've 100 goals for Graham, and I've celebrated everyone like it's his first. Absolutely fantastic servant,
It's like,
whether he's
yeah,
manager
it's
of
like
the women's
I've
team or
watched Brian Graham
manager
at the
for the
Rovers
men's team
games.
or striker or captain. A fantastic servant, and again, as I said, there's no better way to score your 100th goal. It just sends it away into absolute raptures, as I said, and the scenes at full time is absolutely incredible. And I just want to again give a shout out to the young boy Jamie Lowe, who I thought was absolutely fantastic in Friday night. Another player who I want to give a shout out to as well. He's came under a lot of criticism for me personally, and a few other the Thistle fans. Was Kanayo Megwa. It was absolutely fantastic in Friday night as well. I thought defensively he was absolutely solid, and he was amazing. So I definitely had to give both of them a shout out. Both of them deserve it, and you know, as I say, don't write us off at your peril. You know what I mean? It's Partick Thistle in a playoff on a Friday night. Anything can happen. You know, uh, they're still fighting the old dog. You know what I mean? But I absolutely fantastic and generally up there with one of the best away days, away ends I've been involved in. It was absolutely fantastic, and you know we're looking forward to another two very very difficult matches against Livy. Let's not beat around the bush here. It's just going to be an absolutely monumental task. Probably Livingston are favourites going into the game, but listen, we've got to fancy ourselves. That's us went to the top three teams in the league, and we've beat them both. We've beat them. We beat them. Beat them pretty much back to back. You know what I mean? Apart
Yeah,
from
so
the
even
game
with
on
that
Tuesday night.
first leg game, I like watching the highlights. It's like Thistle deserved at least a draw from that game.
Mm-hmm.
I felt, and it's like, of course, watching as you say about the second leg. Although it's like Ayr United's like performance in that second leg was really weird from what I heard. Where it was
Mm-hmm.
just a case of it's like after they went 1-0 down, they just seemed to they had one plan. It was just fire as many balls into the box, just as
Mm-hmm.
many crosses into that box as possible, and like it just didn't work, and it was all they
No,
did for like the
we either
entire
dealt with
game.
them really well, or they were fired over the bar. Um, but I like the first leg, I again wasn't really awfully convinced by Ayr. To be honest, I haven't really been convinced at all. This season against Ayr, even when we've beat them or like sorry when they've beat us when they beat us at Somerset in uh, January February time. They weren't really the best, to be honest. They weren't anything to write home about. Um, so getting into these two games, I did fancies over the two legs, but obviously, as I said, getting into the away leg down to Somerset, you're losing. It's a bit you're a bit downbeat by it, but again, it's only a goal in it. Anything can happen. Then we get that early goal in the 5th minute, and that's it. You know what I mean? We've reaped the rewards, and what a fantastic night Friday was, and bring on the semis, bring on Livingston.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like going into these playoffs. We've said like these past few months, it's like we've not exactly been convinced by Ayr like these last couple of months. It's like had a look into it, and since the end of January, when they last beat you guys in the league, 25th of January, they've won 4 games in the league. They'd only won 4, and that was against Accies, Airdrie twice, and Queens Park. So your bottom 3, and even then, just like right before these playoffs, they drew against Queens Park. They conceded twice against Queens Park, which this was at a point where I think they were in the midst of like losing 9 games in a row. No, they lost 9 games in a row, drew 0-0 with Accies, and then they played against there. But yeah, they've just not been good. It's like Scott Brown was not happy. He was really, really not happy with his players. Like,
how do you take his post match interview? As there's a lot of people saying it could be hinting at his resignation. I
yeah,
don't think so.
yeah, that's the thing. It was like it was a proper throwing players under the bus
Mm-hmm.
kind of interview. That's what makes it seem. That's probably what's fueling this whole he's going to leave or whatever. But the thing is like he was well backed in that previous summer, so there's a very good chance the same will happen again this summer. Is so it will be interesting to see what happens with Scott Brown. If he does leave, then we won't have any more bits where it's just like Partick Thistle play against Scott Brown's A United, and that's all it is. It's like they have to like cut half the name out of the team now, where it's just A United again. It's no longer Scott Brown's A United. But yeah, it's like for a team that were fighting for the title, and it's like having seen them twice in August and then again in September. They were impressive. They were really impressive at the start of the season, but it's like it just had like this like they had a tendency to be a bit naff, but then it's like since February it's just been not good, like
Mm.
proper mid-table form. Whereas with Thistle, it's just like they picked up right at the end of the season with those 2 wins against Falkirk and Livingston, and that's the sort of thing you want to have going into the playoffs, not whatever was happening with Ayr.
Exactly,
But
but again, you don't want to, as well as that, that speaking to us and that as well. Day 3 games before it, we only picked 1 point at 1 point out of 9. And the three games against the three bottom teams in the league, and I, I mean, this season's just been an absolute roller coaster for us, to be honest. I mean, it's been up and down, and think, oh, we're back, we're so back, or we're so done, or we're, you know what I mean? It's been so 50-50. But listen, if it ends in us getting promoted to the top flight, give me all day of the week, give me every year of the calendar. You know what I mean? Season's just been so weird for us. It's been so up and down. It's been an absolute roller coaster of a season, really. But listen, we are where we are now, and um, we're in these we're in the playoffs for a reason. You know what I mean? So got to fancy ourselves.
and it's Livingston that you guys face in the semi-finals. I figured, of course, Livingston took it to the took it to the final day somehow. Somehow with Falkirk for the title, but it's like I've said this before, where it's like when it does come to Livingston, it's just not impressed at any point really this season. They've not been a team that I felt were worthy of champions. I always felt like they were a team who were doing like the bare minimum. It's like when Falkirk had results like beating Queen's Park 4-0 or beating us 3-0, that sort of thing. Livingston,
Beating us 5-2 as well.
Livingston never really had those sort of performances. There wasn't any convincing victories. It was always it's like there was that 5-0 against Ayr, but as we've just mentioned, like Ayr have been like absolutely shocking. It's like they've not been doing it as much as what Falkirk were doing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just that Falkirk tried to throw the title away for whatever reason, just for a
Mm-hmm.
laugh, effectively.
They beat us
But
2-0 just before Christmas, and I think that was the case. That wasn't them absolutely battling us or pumping us or whatever. It was a case of us just not showing up on the night, and it was probably one of the worst Thistle performances I've seen in a good while that night. Not saying it's the worst by a long shot. There's been a lot more worse performances I've seen, but I just never turned up that night. And that was the day, like, a slight on how good Livingston was. It was more a case of how shite we were. I don't know if you remember that game, Callum. At Almond Vale just before Christmas, but it was 2-0 for Livingston. And I don't think we were that good, but again, as you say, they're not getting they're not absolutely blowing teams away. You know what I mean? They're just getting the results at the right at the right time. But I've never been one that have blew us away. But I think their squad is a lot more fitter and a lot more sharper
yeah,
than ours anyway. We're down to
they'll
the
have
bare
the
bones here.
best.
In terms of injuries, in terms of fitness, there's players still cramping up towards the end of the game, and I mean it's been like that for a while. But they're digging in, and we're defending. We're defending for the front and the back. Like, everybody's helping out, everybody's digging in, everybody's putting a shift in to get the results, and that it's performances like that makes you proud of the team. Everybody just digging in and everyone putting their bodies on the line. And we're not. It's no fantastic football we're playing. We're not playing fucking Brazil's 1970s type football. We're not playing tiki taka, Pep Guardiola prime football, but it's getting us the results. And it just shows that everybody's up for these games. There's no passengers on that side. Um, it's it's absolutely fantastic to watch everybody just digging in and putting their bodies on the line for the team and for the club. And aye, um, gives me a reason to believe again. And again, as I say, just bring them on Tuesday, see what happens. Just take each game at a time, and if we get through, we get through. Fantastic. If we don't, is what it is. But bring them on nonetheless.
Yeah, it's like the thing with is like Livingston have just been a team that's been like getting the job done for most of their games, and it's just like as you say, it's like even the two. It's like we lost the first two games against Livingston that we played, and both times I felt that we were robbed. It was a case of just like how on earth did they come away with a win? And I mean, it did sort of that second loss. I think was the one that was away from home when Liam Dick got sent off, and
Mm-hmm.
um, a certain clip came about from that. But yeah, it's just like, I do feel like Thistle are definitely the underdogs. You know, it's like usually it's like a team from the quarter final. You know, it's like they played an extra two games. As you say, there'll be the full fitness aspect or whatever. It's like I do expect Livingston to win this. However, I will not be surprised if Thistle win. That's the thing is, I really will not be surprised if Thistle win and see you guys back into the playoff final where but it could be Ross County again.
It could be.
For like a third year in a row.
Nah,
Can they just fuck off? See if you finish in a relegation playoff spot 3 seasons in a row, automatically down. I'm sorry, I'm sick of it. I'm just sick of it at this point.
it could be. It could be St Johnstone as well. Yeah, I mean, there's. I think Kelly have stayed up. They stayed up at the weekend there, and I mean, it's not looking good for Dundee either.
I was going to say Dundee as well.
There's a good few teams that are getting dragged down into the dogfight now, and whoever it is, look, listen, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I don't want to say, oh, we'll be there and whatever, because you never know. Football's a crazy thing. You know, we could go into Tuesday, Friday night and get pumped both legs, or we can go into Tuesday, Friday night and pump them or beat them. You know what I mean? But listen,
Aye.
whatever happens, and I think we should just take each game at a time. But you've got one eye certainly on who could who either us or Livingston could be playing in the finals. It's very interesting to watch.
Yeah, so we'll go down to the other end when it comes to the playoffs now with the League One promotion playoffs to see who ends up in the championship. And of course, we'll start off with the team that is actually currently in the championship, and that is Airdrie. They were playing against Stenny. Now, Airdrie they got ninth thanks to Aki's getting their points deduction appeal rejected last week, which was not surprising at all. Just really not. It was like everyone saw that coming. It's like just like the nature of the charges. You're just like that is not getting overturned at all. Just why?
Not even
But
in nature, but the amount of points they actually deducted. Yeah, I mean they're not obviously going to go all of a sudden be like, oh no, like we've just accidentally deducted 15 points for Ackies. If you're getting deducted 15 points, they've got something on. You know what I mean? Fair enough if it's that one or two here or there, but if it's 15 points, you've done something really wrong. But aye, that's wild in itself. And I think we could do a full podcast on that situation itself.
I made a 25-minute video. So
exactly. But Airdrie are all of
lucky.
a sudden in it, and
A bit lucky when you consider the fact they were on like 6 points at New Year's and they've managed to finish ninth. That just tells you.
amazing. Like you would never have thought that. Like even before Christmas, you know what I mean? Looking at it, they could have been, as you said, we've said it to death on here, but it was like they were going to have a Brecon style season in the championship, and I mean,
I think it's like we got to like November and we were
mhm.
genuinely concerned as to whether or not they would win another game. And I was absolutely terrified by that prospect because of the fact their one win was the first game of the season against us. I
I
would
mean, me,
not
me
have
as a
been
Thistle
very
fan, I would
happy
never
with
be concerned
that.
about Airdrie going down. But you know what I mean? I now they've gave themselves a fighting chance, and by God, they did in the first leg.
The second half of the season has been absolutely fantastic. They've been like the fifth best team in the league, I think, if we go off their points since the 1st of January. So they very much were favourites going into this. They were coming up against Thistle. Now, Steady, they made it into the playoffs. They leapfrogged Alloa on the final day to end up here with a chance for back-to-back promotions. But, as the fourth place championship team, League One team, you end up facing whoever's coming down from the championship, which is never a good sign. I think it was like Queen's Park got promoted through the playoffs when they finished fourth, and it's like I can't think of anyone else finishing fourth and get promoted. It just doesn't happen. But this one it started off. It's like Steady did have a couple of chances, but then it's like Chris Mockery could have had a hat trick in like the first 20 minutes. Like there was one where it's like he rounded the goalkeeper and he put it wide past the other post, and it's just a case of like how has he missed that? But uh, Lewis McGrattan, meanwhile, would score 2 goals in 10 minutes. So that was just incredible. So it was like the first goal, 20th minute, ball edge of the box that he just hits it, not on the volley or half volley, but it's like the ball bouncing and he's just hit it. And it's a really good strike. And then 10 minutes later, it's a first time effort from the edge of the box. It just curls into the far top corner, which is really nice to see. And it's like from that point on, it was just all Airdrie. And when would it's like Chris Mockery, he would eventually get his goal just after like 5 minutes into the second half, and it's like by the time Sinnersmuir got their penalty in the 89th minute, it's like Airdrie could have been 5 or 6 nil up by this point. It was
Aye,
just absolutely dominant.
aye,
But like
definitely.
Aiken would go at
Aye, they
penalty.
absolutely battered Stenny, and I think it was for Stenny. It was always like a step too far for them. You know what I mean? It would have been semi nice to see them in this, not in the top flight, sorry, in the championship. But again, I've been to Stenhouse times more times than I can count in the last 4 years. So kind of glad I'm
One
not seeing them
mentions.
next season. But it's all Airdrie. I mean, we don't really want to get any spoilers for the second regularly, but it's just basically the same as the first leg. To be honest, I mean, it's just all Airdrie, and it could have been, as you said, Callum, 5 or 6. Airdrie could have been long out of sight. I mean, they already are being 3-1 up, but and then obviously Stenny grabbed their consolation goal for a penalty, but but honestly, ties already done by that point. You don't really see Stenny doing anything after that, but it was an absolute battering. 3-1 going on at least 5 or 6, maybe more, and Airdrie gave themselves a fighting chance um, heading into the final against well, we don't want to spoil it, but against either Cove or Queen of the South, you know what I mean? But
It was
it's just all Airdrie. You could tell a difference, but who was a championship team and who was a League One side.
it was very much a case of 1 foot in the final by that point, and it's like with the second leg, it was more of the same really, with Airdrie being dominant, with Steady having a couple of chances in that first half, but then Alex Alex Bannon
Mm.
would score with a header in the 38th minute. It was his first goal for the club, so fair play to him. And then Ben Wilson would score a deflected shot, and that would make it 2-0 Airdrie on the day, 5-1 on aggregate, after, like just into the second half. Again, Steady would get a consolation goal not too long after that with Matty Yates, but that was it. Like as he's saying, it's like after that first leg, it's like good luck coming back from that. Just the way Airdrie performed over the 2 legs, it was just a battering, and yeah, it's like Airdrie very much favourites going into this playoff final if they continue to play like they did in those two games. Stenny, meanwhile, they can still be proud of themselves for this season. It's like they got promoted last season after winning their first ever league title, which is mad when you consider they've been in the leagues for like 100 years or however long, I don't know. But yeah, it's just as you say, it's just a case of the difference between the Championship and League One just shown right there. And as we've mentioned before about this idea of momentum going into the playoffs, as we said, Ayr 4 wins in the last 15 or whatever. It's like Airdrie are in better form than that.
Yeah,
And
I
yeah,
certainly fancy them in the final as well.
it's like it does feel like they are very much the favourites for coming back up. Staying up. Sorry, not coming back up. But two teams who were looking to come back up into the championship after a few seasons away, which is mad to think about it. It's been a few years since they've been down, but it was Queen herself against Cove in the other League One playoff, and there is no footage to be found of this. Either games. There is nothing on the Queen herself YouTube, nothing on the Cove Rangers
Cove,
YouTube, which I don't even think has match highlights looking at their YouTube channel. I swear it's just post match and pre match interviews. And I don't think, even though it's like I typed in Queen herself versus Cove, it only showed stuff from a Challenge Cup semi final from a few years ago on the SPFL YouTube channel. So it's like, cheers, lads. Thanks for everything. But to be fair, it's just like with the first leg, it was 0-0 in Dumfries. So I have no idea what we would have had to talk about then. But second leg would see Mitch Megginson open the scoring for Cove after 8 minutes. Blair Ure would double that lead just after half time. Kai Kennedy would give Queens a goal back. I didn't even realise he was at Queen of the South because he was at Dundee United last season, which I found also equally surprising. But yeah, it's like Cove would hold on and they would go through, which leaves us with a playoff final of Airdrie against Cove, which, as I said on the podcast with Josh, is the one final that we did not want to happen. It's like it is the worst possible choice for a neutral championship fan who's looking at this because it's like I think of like the current championship teams. I think Airdrie's the worst away day, but it's like, and also everybody hates Airdrie for other reasons. But then it's like you've got this prospect of having to go up to Cove, which is just shit.
It's not a dump. Have you been to Cove, Callum?
It's like the one game in Aberdeen that I've actually been to was when we've played Banks of D in the Cup, and at least that was a proper stadium. And whilst yes, I did drive up, and it's like across the road there's a Costa, and there is something else there. There's Tesco. It's not too far from the city centre, so if you want to get a train up, then there's that option or whatever. There's none of that with Cove. It's like with their old stadium for where it is. It's like it's in the middle of like a bunch of like south side suburb sort of thing, but it's like there's I've not properly looked into the Cove Bay area for obvious reasons, but I'd imagine there's like at least a pub or whatever, something for people to do pre-match, but not with where they are now. It's just in the middle of an industrial estate, and it just
It's
looks
shocking.
really sad.
Have you been Callum? Have you been to Cove? Sorry,
No, I've not been to
no.
Cove, and I do not want
I
to.
went to Cove a couple of seasons ago. We beat them 5-0 there, and generally utter dump. I mean, they've got a social club at their ground. Went in there in the way that so first of all it's pints and plastic cups, which is a no no first of all. But I can live with that. I understand why they do it. They have so what they do to like do the pints. So they have cans and they put it in like this canister. So like lukewarm cans, put it into a canister, like pour it in, and whenever it gets empty, just keep pouring it in, pouring it in, pouring it in, and then feed it through this pump. Generally, I only had one pint, and I was on spirits for the rest of the day. I nearly shat myself. It made me and my friend ill. It was utterly, it was shocking. So for obvious reasons, I don't want him back up. Um, I mean, you could probably get a taxi into Aberdeen, and kind of just drink there and get a taxi, or whatever. But there's absolutely fuck all there. I think there's like a KFC or something like that. That's it. It's in the middle of an industrial estate. Aye, fair enough. You could. It's good for a bevy on the bus up or whatever. Because it's in Aberdeen, so it's a decent wee journey up. Other than that, utter dump. I would not recommend it. It's absolutely awful. Aye, I don't really. I think I fancy Airdrie over Cove, to be honest. I've not really been keeping in tabs of how Cove's season has been, to be honest. But I mean, they're in the playoff final for a reason, so kind of good luck to them. If they beat Airdrie, they'll instantly become my favourite team for Aberdeen. If they manage to send Jersey down, but I think overall, I think Airdrie's. I think I fancy Airdrie over just how I've seen Airdrie play this season. I fancy Airdrie over Cove, over the two legs.
Aye, so from my experiences between these two sides, is alcohol poisoning versus food poisoning.
Yes.
But yeah,
Burger fan's good though, I would say. They've got a burger fan in the stadium. That's quite nice. But yeah, just don't go to the social club. That's my advice.
was that game you went up to as well? Also, not one where it was like really foggy and it's like I think it'd be raining, so it's like this whether it wasn't like the tiny stand that they have. It was
Mm-hmm.
just a mud bath around the
That is,
pitch, pretty much.
yeah, aye. I think we went up there in April, and again it was still raining up there, still grey. It's Aberdeen in it, so it's always going to
When
be
did
that.
not.
But aye, it was just not the best away day, and I really wanted Queen of the South up.
Yeah.
For the away days only. Dumfries is. I've only done Dumfries once, mind you, but I loved it. And I would love to get him back up. But as what it is, can't have everything we want.
It is what it is. It was like just seeing those results, and I'm just like, oh my god, I think I was still in. Yeah, it was like I'd seen the. Oh, when was it? No, it was on the Saturday. Never. Yeah, it was on the Saturday. I was on yesterday. I was like down the beach having a few cans of friends. It's like having a barbecue. All that. Yes, this is all great. And I just see the result. I was like, all right, cheers, Dave Owen. Thanks, Queen of the South. I asked you to do one thing. Maybe they're still bitter about the fact that we beat them in the Challenge Cup final. Is that
Could
they
be.
heard me like begging for them to do something and just like, no, you like Matty Poplatnik a bit too much for my liking. But yeah, it's like with Airdrie against Cove being that final, yeah, I just feel like it's going to be Airdrie's. Just the way they put aside Stenhousemuir is very impressive, and I feel like they very much have the ability to do the same. So, and so yeah, Tuesday, Friday for Thistle against Livingston as usual. That'll be on BBC Scotland, and then it would be Tuesday, Saturday for Airdrie against Cove. I'm not sure if BBC Alba pick up these games.
I think
I'm
it
not
will be.
sure, or maybe they used up all of their
Mm-hmm.
um, allocation for TV games during the regular season. I'm not entirely sure on that. Um, Not entirely sure on that front. That's SPFL Media Watch's job. He can sort that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that has been the championship playoffs. Um, so as mentioned, we will be back next week, where hopefully things have happened. We'll get highlights for the League One game. I mean, we definitely will, because Airdrie have been pretty reliable, even when they've been away against Partick Thistle, who don't like to share their highlights. Dickheads. But yeah, that is all for this week, of course, there is the charity football match that's happening in
Goodbye.
June. That's happening in June. We do have a team for that. It is. I don't think it's been confirmed on the Twitter yet, but it should be soon because I have put the money in. We've got everything ready. It's just it's gonna be on the Twitter any moment. Any moment it'll be there. And when June comes, we will lift that trophy. Won't we, Kieran? But yeah, that's all for this week, and we'll see you for the next round of the playoffs. Goodbye.